Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their story to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the MisFitNation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share some of your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you're a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you're a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and just share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or are embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date with our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show. We're here live in New Jersey with Tom the Torch LaMonica, our dad, our Goomba here. Mm-hmm. We just had a good lunch at the Mud Hole, and now we're going to ask him some questions about his childhood. So first, tell us a little more about Nanny and Little Poppy when you were growing up in the 40s and 50s and how things were in the 40s and 50s.
Well, I remember Hopkins Avenue, 56 Hopkins Avenue. That's where we first lived. I lived there for 8 years. We lived on the first floor. And I remember we'd sit in the barn and listen to the radio. And it was on a slant. I know it was on a slant because it had marble. If you put the marble down, it would roll downhill at the other end. And there was always a different kind of smell there. And I wondered what it was. The smell was because the basement was dirt. So the house was built on dirt. There's no concrete. We lived there until 1948. I was 8 years old. We moved to Jefferson Avenue, where they bought a house. And day of closing, I was given an envelope and I had to carry the money to the realtor and a lawyer. The house was $8,000, which was unheard of then. A lot of money. And so I carried the $8,000 to pay for the house, and then of course I had to pay the mortgage after that. They paid it off pretty quick because both of them worked. Father worked for Armor's meatpacking, and my mother worked for Muller's Macaroni, and she eventually switched to nights. She was working days. She worked the nights. And then my father wound up getting sick. And I guess I was 14, and then when I was 15, they were told, if you don't lose a lung, you have to take a lung out. And that was 1955, and it was unheard of. I remember the doctor, his name was White. Dr. White was very famous. He did the operation on the president, Eisenhower, years later. Anyway, I was told you have to get a job now. You're 15, your father's going to get this operation. And a year from now, when you're 16, you're going to have to quit high school and get a full-time job. So I prepared for that. I started working, setting up bowling pins in a bowling alley. They weren't automatic then. Everything was done by hand. I had to work till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I get up and go to school in the morning. And a year went by pretty quick. My father seemed okay. 16 years old I was, and he was doing great. He got a job with the Jersey City Board of Education. And he worked as a laborer with them. They repaired fences at the different ballparks and high school field. And well, he did that for quite a while until he was transferred into schools, and he was buffing a floor, and the buffer hit a wet spot and flipped him up in the air and he broke his collarbone.
Wow.
And I went to the hospital to be there with him, and he was in a lot of pain. The doctor explained to me it's a very painful thing to have a busted collarbone. So he got out of that, and that's when he decided to retire. My mother was still working for the Board of Ed. She was this cleaning lady and something else. I forget what they called them then. They had a title. And I graduated, went to service, come out of the service, got a job with public service. So because of that accident, the Board of Ed lost the case, and they owed my father $12,000. Imagine that.
Wow.
That's more than the price of the house. So the lawyers for the Board of Ed said, okay, we're going to send 3,000 now, and then 3,000 every 6 months, because we're afraid if we send all at once, he'll run away and leave your mother. So at the time while I was working public service, I went down and I met Mary, who is sort of a treasurer with the Board of Ed, and I told them who I was. Said I worked public service, and I want the full check for my father. And she said, okay, Miss LaMonica, I'll be right back. She gave me the full check.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good to know people back then, to get connections like that.
That was a little later. It was after you came home from the Army with
Yeah.
public service, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so how was you went to Dickinson High School as well,
Yeah,
didn't you?
Dickinson High School.
Tell us
Loved
about that back then.
I thought it was the best school in the city. Probably still is, but nobody will say that. But it's falling apart now, which is a shame. But I could have been on the honor roll every year or every semester or whatever you want to call it. But there was days I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to see the rodeo. So I went to the rodeo. I wanted to see the St. Patrick's Day parade. I said, let's go to St. Patrick's Day parade. That's what I did. I failed a couple of subjects, but I still graduated on time, 1958, June. I was 18 years old.
Were there when you were in school, like now there's there's gangs and stuff now, and there's cliques. Was there cliques and things back then?
Yeah, there was cliques. It was more or less neighborhood things, like there was the Marion section probably isn't anymore, but it used to be all Italians, and if you were from the Heights, that was a whole different group, Jersey City Heights, I think. You know, it was separated according to sections that you were in: Journal Square, Marion, Greenville, Lafayette.
Yeah,
Didn't
that's
have names though. Didn't have no names like later on, like Black Panthers, groups like that.
oh yeah. Everyone started having names, and then yeah, the influences from outside the city coming in as well.
Yeah, that was the big.
How many was there? All the high schools that are there now, were they all operating at that time too, like Lincoln, Ferris,
Yes.
and all them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of rivalries even
A
back
lot of
then.
competition with football and all these sports.
And you were able to run, but Nanny used to make you told you couldn't run, right?
Right, that was the thing. I made the track team, and I brought the papers home. I got an interview from a coach from Villanova, and she called my cousin, who was a nurse, was a head nurse in some hospital, and she said, Aunt Josephine, it stimulates the heart, which of course is a good thing, but my mother thought it was a bad thing when I heard the heart. So she wouldn't sign the paper, and I never completed going on the track team.
Uh, what would have been?
Couldn't get stimulated.
Yeah, couldn't get stimulated. What do you think of the biggest issues back then were for you guys in high school?
I don't know. There wasn't, there was no like race riots or race anything. I mean, people were just people. It wasn't, oh, there's a black guy. Oh, there's a whatever Polish guy. Everybody just seemed the same, and all of a sudden they started issuing names to everybody. Like, oh, I was that crazy Italian kid, or I think that would have walked. And yeah, that was towards the end, before graduation. But before that, there wasn't. It was just everybody from the neighborhood or from the high school. Oh, I don't know what changed it. Changed for the worse, changed for the better. I don't know.
Well, I think labeling everything kind of made it easier to pinpoint stuff and cause issues than it
Yeah.
was just this guy and this guy had a fight, or this girl and this girl had a
Yeah.
fight. So you said you worked as doing the bowling alley when you were 15, 16. Did you have any other jobs in high school?
Oh yeah, I started out as a dishwasher in Woolworths, and I got promoted from the kitchen. I mean, from the dishwasher to the kitchen, and with cleaning out the kitchen and setting up, making. And they taught me how to make pies. I made apple pies. I made pumpkin pies. In fact, for Thanksgiving, we made 300 of them. And I had scars. I had 8 burns on my arm because you didn't wear long gloves, and the pies were inside the ovens, and I'd have to stand on a stool to reach all the way in the oven because I was short, and I'd burn my arm every time I went in to get pies.
And OSHA wasn't a thing back then.
No. But I made 87 cents an hour,
Woo.
and the girls were only making 85 cents an hour
Oh wow.
because girls were, I don't know.
Different rules for each.
Yeah.
Different time back then, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after high school, you joined the army.
Yeah, well,
Not
when I
long after.
left, the manager of Woolworths wrote a letter saying that I was a sous chef, which means that, helped out in the kitchen, and I would make an excellent cook. So I brought that into the army, and after we got down to Texas, well, they made us sing the Yellow Rose of Texas, because that's what sergeants do, weird things. And they said, all right, we're going to start going for jobs, they're testing you. And he said, well, I have a letter. And I said, oh, great, what's the letter? And I read the letter, put it inside, read it, and I said, okay. So and they gave me a job driving a tank. So that was it.
That's just like a sous chef.
Driving a tank.
And man, when your generation, a lot of young men joined out of patriotism or the feeling that you should serve your country at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Was that
definitely.
why you joined?
Yeah, I couldn't find a job, and they did talk about, oh, film service, you'll get a good job when you come out. So I went over and I said, well, what do we got to do? And no one explained to me. I think I can't think of a name, but He says you can boost your draft. You can send a note saying yes, you want to get drafted, and they'll draft you. So you only have to go in for 2 years. If you just sit back and go in, then you're going to go for a minimum of 3 years. So try it too. If you like it, you can always re-enlist and stay in longer. So I did that. Boosted my draft. I got a letter from the President Eisenhower saying you have been drafted.
Wow.
Wherever that is.
I was gonna say, I wonder if Nanny kept that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
So you started in Texas in the Army, and where else did you go with the Army?
Well, just from there straight to Germany. Germany for 18 months. And I came back, went to Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. And I was there for 2 or 3 days. They gave me my discharge, and I didn't read it there. When I went home, I read it, and I was discharged early for overseas duty because of overseas duty. It was early discharge was like 7 days early, so it was a big deal they gave me. Plus, they gave me a month and a half pay because I had a guy that worked the books that give us the extra pay.
It's always good to have friends, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I was surprised. Oh yeah, he has 2 weeks leave coming, plus another, your monthly pay. That's nice. Walk out with cash in your pocket.
And feel like you're wealthy for a little bit.
Yeah.
So you came back home, back to Jersey City, and how long after that did you meet the love of your life?
It was really that long. Oh, it was 1960. So I guess about a year later, mother, I'm not really, and there was a political party, and my mother asked me to go just to get for the people to get to know me. And I was going with this guy, Jim Cosran, and he said, we should have girls with us. I said, all right. So he said, why don't you take my cousin? I'll go with so-and-so. And we went. And that's the first date we actually had, going to a political event.
You guys actually grew up not far from each other. You were on Jefferson Street. She was, right at the block. So
Never knew each other.
Never knew each other.
No,
That's wild. That is crazy. Living that close, and that just shows you the city life, how crazy busy the city can be. You might not know someone.
I raised on Jefferson, but hung out on Waverly, and she lived at Waverly and Baltimore. Never saw her.
Wow. And of course, we know that you got married not long, 62, right? 62?
Yeah.
62, you guys got married, had Tom, Michelle, and waited a few years. Then you had Steve, and then you had the best one, me, in 70. But in that time, you guys went through a lot. I mean, Vietnam started, so a lot of your friends were going to Vietnam, of course. A lot of family was going to Vietnam.
Coming back screwed up.
And you've seen the world change from when you were a boy, listening to the TV, listening to news on the radio. Then the 50s got some TVs and stuff, and then of course now we all have TVs in every room.
Yeah.
What have you seen? I mean, you've seen more than most people in your 80 years of life. Have you seen any changes for the good, not just the bad stuff, just the other good stuff that has had to happen?
Yeah, I guess I'd say that. Well, there's more opportunities for people if they want them. I mean, it's out there. Where I felt restricted because there was prejudice. I asked the guy who was my boss, and told him, I says, I just got a letter from government saying I qualified, that they'll pay my college. Oh, okay. I'm head of the labor department. Even though he worked public service, he ran the labor department at St. Peter's College. So I went there on a Monday night, with him. Went to 3 different professors who all said, no, we can't take you this year. Come back some other time. And winds up they were all Irish, and he was Irish. I found out that's what it was. It was all prejudice. They were keeping the Italian kid out.
Wow.
But things like that, I guess that's normal. It changed now. because they can't get away with it now.
Right. You can't outwardly do it now.
Yeah,
It's a lot different. Yeah.
that hurt. I came back. I wrote a letter to the Jersey Journal, and they printed it, and but no, nothing happened. And it was a contest about why you wouldn't want to be in a service with Joe Namath. And I wrote a letter saying I wouldn't want to be in with him because he's always complaining he's got bad knees, bad legs. How can I depend on him if I'm in combat? Because he's going to say, "Oh, I can't play today because I'm hurt." No, he's no way. And I got second prize.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what
Johnny
first prize
Rose.
wrote. And technology obviously is advanced. When you were a kid listening to news on the radio, everyone huddling around, I guess it was like a big box, kind of like the.
Yeah, we would sit around when I was a kid. Me, my sister, and it was the shadow. The shadow knows on the radio. Yeah. And the shadow was, I forget, there was like 2 or 3. Oh, Dick Tracy, he was on the radio too.
Oh, wow. And back the phone numbers back then, it wasn't like you had to say like a name of a street and a number or something back then, early days.
It was, you had journals, the different ones were Swarthmore, Journal Square, Oldfield. That was Jersey City ones, those 3. It might have been another one, but I don't remember.
Do you remember yours when you were a kid?
Yeah. Nah, Oldfield 6 or 178, something like that. It wasn't that many.
Wow. And then, of course, it went to the long cord on the wall or the rotary dial, then the long cord on the wall to press buttons. And now, I mean, we're videoing off my phone right now, and you have what we call the legacy phone right there, the flip phone on your desk, on your table there. So I mean, this technology has advanced mightily in the time. Of course, kids are much smarter now because they're able to reach out and just grab information now.
Oh yeah.
Those
Sometimes it's too much.
Right. It's overwhelming, I think, for some of them. And,
yes, I definitely think so.
What are some things you think that us as a society can do now to make our society better again, so we talk to each other instead of fight over everything and maybe settle things differently?
Definitely. Well, I always felt volunteering helped everybody. I mean, I volunteered with the Scouts for over 20 years, and I mean, I talk about it now and I sometimes brag about myself, but back then I never even mentioned it. I just did because I wanted to do it. There was kids that could never go to Boston or to Washington, D.C. because each time you went, it was a deal where the kid would have to sell at least $30 worth of candy. And that's 2 trips. That's $60 if he had the 2 trips. But I figured out a way. We don't have to do that. We volunteer. We have dances. We, work, get the money, and the kids go for nothing. It worked. If I helped 1, I helped 2, 3. I helped a lot of them. I felt great. That's what you got to do. You got to help one another. That's how you make a better society.
Yeah, I think we just talked about that on the way to lunch. You were talking about the couple that bought you and Mom hot dogs.
Yeah.
Paying it forward and helping someone else.
That's the greatest thing.
And you pay the next person.
Pay it forward.
Yeah. I think and you also, I mean, you put on the 50s dance every year for most of my childhood, I believe.
20 years.
Yeah, it was a long time.
That's
Remember
how we made the money. And it all started out with Mark, when Mark got hurt.
Yep. Mark Slorno.
And Monsignor said, well, the most we ever made was $1 or $2 grand. I said, no, we're going to make more than that. And we did. I went, I forget where I went. Anyway, your mother and Frankie Hughes lifted the barrels of beer and tapped them. And a week of it, I got to lift barrels of beer. She was very upset over that. But that was on a Saturday. Sunday, we felt dead from all the work. But we walked over to their house and gave them a cash envelope with over $3,000 in it. It was never done before at St. John's.
Wow.
And the Monsignor called me in and said, you're a pillar of the church. And that felt good too.
And I think that's a difference back then too. The parish priest would actually go to like Commuter's Bar with you guys and have a beer with you guys,
Oh, yeah,
Monsignor, Father Toot, and
Well,
all
that's
that.
what your grandmother said, Tommy. Some people get a priest to go to their father or mother's wake. You got a Monsignor. How'd you do that? I said, well, I talk to him all the time. I said, it's not that he's scared of me. Like people are afraid of priests. People are afraid. I was never afraid of a priest. Never. In fact, he invited me. Him and Carmen Monteleone used to go to the track once a week. They invited me to go. I mean, nobody ever knew he was a priest or a Monsignor because he wore a sweatshirt.
Right. And was that the same Monteleone's from the bakery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Carmen knows the son. He owned it. He was the owner.
And that Monteleone's sadly just closed now this year,
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
After many years of service there.
Years.
Yeah. Lots of baking and lots of serving many different people's communions, confirmations, weddings, and such like that. But also in your time, music has changed completely.
Oh, yeah.
Entertainment has changed. What is your all-time favorite artist as far as musician?
Well, I still listen every once in a while to Sinatra. Musician, I don't know.
That's a good one right there, Frankie Sinatra.
Yeah.
How about your favorite book you ever read?
Oh, I used to all of Wamba's books, the top books. Oh man,
Never
they
seen them
were
in the house.
always they were. Some of them were very sad. Some of them, but they all had punchlines in them where you had to laugh. And all of a sudden he just stopped. And I don't know. I think maybe he wrote 6 that I remember.
Wow.
They made a movie out of one of them, Choir Boys, Choir Practice. And I found out through experience that it actually happens, that Jersey City cops used to go under the Skyway, and some of them would, in their district, would pick up beer, some of them would pick up food, some of them pick up booze, and they're supposed to be on duty, would have their private little parties. They called it choir practice. And the book was written just like that.
Wow.
So he had to either be a cop or know a cop to get to know all this stuff.
Get some inside information.
Yeah.
What's the favorite place you've ever been to?
Maine.
Maine.
It's got to be Maine. Oh my God, we loved it. Me and your mother wanted to stay there. It's weird. We got there at night. We were both beat. And I said, oh, Christ, let's go find the air conditioner. There's no air conditioner in this place. But it wasn't. It was nice and cool. This is in August.
Yeah.
Woke up in the morning and your mother says, smell that. She says, you smell the pine and you smell the ocean. The soft water and the pine. Oh my God, it was beautiful. I lay down in a hammock that we had in front of a little house that we rented. She bought me a can of beer. I was in heaven. We walked down the hill, which is maybe a block and a half long, and went for breakfast. So it was a little chilly. Can I help you? Yeah, I want a coffee. And you got oatmeal? Sure. Bring me a nice big pipe of hot oatmeal. She says, do you like strawberry? I know. You like blueberries? Yeah. So she goes outside. Your mother goes, you're not going to believe this. Look out the window. The lady was picking the blueberries off the blueberry tree and putting them on my oatmeal and bringing it back in. Out of this world. So we came out of there and to the right, went down by the river, and it was just not the river, the ocean. It was a beautiful shells. So your mother went down to pick some of them, and we met a woman from Boston. She says, "Oh, to your mother, are you a sheller?" Your mother would say, "What the hell are you talking about?"
What's a sheller?
Yeah. She became a sheller because we went from there to what they call Sand Beach, and she picked up shells there too. Now we went through the park. What the hell's the name of it? What's Renee? Anyway, it's I think like 12 miles, and they said, "Oh, it's going to take at least 3 hours." 3 hours? What are you, crazy? And it did. It took 3 hours because it's so beautiful to see. And finally we got to the mountain, Cadillac Mountain, and we parked and only had to walk maybe 50 feet or 50 yards, I should say, to the top. We had sandwiches with us and sodas, and we sat down. And on the other side of this mountain, you could see the little town, Bar Harbor, and how high up we were. Even though your mother was afraid of heights, she couldn't believe how beautiful it looked. And his people climbing up the hill. He says, "Oh, you two made it up here already?" I said, "Yeah." But we drove. They didn't know that. Yeah, we're sitting there having our sodas and our beer, and it was just great. Next day, we went on a boat ride to Canada, Nova Scotia. You could had slot machines on the boat. It was a lot of fun. They had a singer on there that he was such a good singer. He brought tears to our eyes. The stories he was telling in the songs that he wrote. And we finally got back. So the next day we're gonna get ready to leave, and your mother realized she never cashed her paycheck. So I said, "Let's go in the bank, see if they'll cash it." So we go to the teller. He goes, "Well, you have to see the manager. I can't cash that check. It's too much money." At the time, it was only a few $100, but so we go to the manager. The manager says, "Where are you from?" We said, "New Jersey." He says, "Well, I was born and raised in Bayonne." What? She said, "I came up here on vacation with my husband, and we never went home." I said, "You're kidding," because we had already said that. Me and your mother already said we'd love to stay. She looked at me. She said, "This is getting too real."
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your favorite place you ever been to is Maine.
Yeah. Oh,
It is
people were great. One walks up to your mother and says, "So how you doing today?" She says, "Did you hear Sarah's house burned down yesterday?" Your mother, "No, really?" Like she knows it.
Of course. Of course you did. What was your favorite moment in life? Your best day?
Best day.
Had many, so
Yeah, I had quite a few. I'll tell you, the first day I was standing in church with Butchie, my best man, and I looked and I said, "Oh my God." He goes, "What?" I said, "Look how beautiful she looks." He mo-
And what church did you guys get married in?
St. Nicholas.
St. Nick's in the Heights.
Yeah,
Okay.
Central Avenue.
I mean, you guys worked a lot of different jobs. I mean, even when you had your public service job, you were working other jobs to try to make sure well, first Michelle and Tom and Mom had everything they needed. What gave you that motivation to make sure they had a better life than maybe you perceived it could have been, if not?
Well, I wanted somehow to have enough money in it and not worry about it, but that, I guess that never happens. You always need more. But I talked to my boss and I said, "I want to get a part-time job." He said, "Well, you do, make sure you put the money, don't blow it on stupid things like partying, put it towards the bills in the house and things like that. Then it's worth it." So started out first loading trucks for Preston Trucking. I did that for close to 2 years. Sometimes work until 3:30 in the morning and get up at 7:30 and go back to work for public service.
Wow. You were working outside at the time too, right? Public service.
Yeah. And then my sister's husband asked me, he says, "Well, I got a job for you if you want it." It's in Newark. And I said, "With trucks?" He said, "Yeah." So I went out there. And what it was driving a truck. And I said, "I never drove a truck." He said, "You drove a tank." I said, "It's a little different though." So I became a truck driver for 2 years, delivering to all the airlines. That was a good job. And I met people there that gave me opportunities that I was afraid to take. The first one was a manager that had been a truck driver and got the job as the foreman, as the manager, and put 2 kids through college through the benefits program that these people had. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something like that where I could say to the kids, "Okay, you're going to this college, you're going to this college. Don't worry about it, it's paid for." All right. So from that, I got off driving the truck and became the night manager. but we worked at the airport. We didn't work before that. We were working out of a motorhome, a trailer in Newark. But they moved the office into the airport, and I met a lot of gangsters. First, I met Mr. White, who owned White Trucking, very multimillionaire. Offered me and this guy Pat a job on a new place they were building in Canada. Showed us the pictures of it. Said, you're gonna have to move your family up there. He says, I'll make sure all the kids get schooled, and this is what I wanted. But it's in Canada.
For the world.
And we were afraid to do it. Me and your mother were both afraid to do it. It would be like starting all over. Nobody not knowing anybody in the middle of nowhere. Because this place was in the middle of nowhere. So then the gangsters came up, and one says, he says, can I use your copy machine? And he's copying $100 bills and $50 bills. And it's Wednesday, and I don't get paid till Thursday. This guy's walking around with Gino Montone. He was a semi-pro football player, owned a trucking company, and loaded with money.
The early Teamsters.
He says, look, they're shipping these watches. They come in from France. He said, you just turn your head and they'll disappear. He said, when you go home, in the morning you wake up, there'll be 10 grand in your mailbox. What? He said, well, you have to take a little tap on the head. I suppose the guy hits me too hard. I'm dead now. He says, no, I don't want to do that. He said, so I'll see you tomorrow. Comes back the next day. I got some nice shirts. Oh, Jesus Christ. Next day, I got some nice wigs for your wife. Oh, my God. I mean, your name is.
Lots of things fall off trucks.
Yeah. So the watches come in. They're put on United Airlines. Taken right out of the truck. They're in an igloo. The igloos are sealed. Put it on the platform to United Airlines. United Airlines ship it to Chicago. It gets to Chicago. They open it up. There's nothing in it. So the FBI right away comes to us. How to get out of here. So we showed them. We showed them how to get onto the airport. Slide it right out of the truck today. No one to this day knows how their watches got out of that igloo because it was sealed. We got there.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Can you open the bar too, the Waverly, right?
Oh, yeah. 2 years of that.
I mean, that had to be some good stories there.
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of the boxer that came in there at that time? They made a movie about him.
Oh, Frankie DePaula.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Bobby is who I hung out with, his brother. But then Frankie came over to play ball with us. And it's funny, we played down by Roosevelt Stadium. There was a field behind it. And he was in right field. And the ball gets by him and he runs into it was like a swamp. And as soon as he got into the swamp, 3 cars emptied and all these guys ran in after him. What the hell is this? They were FBI. They were watching him.
Thought he was escaping.
They thought he was running away. Yeah. Yeah, he was. They were investigating copper that was stolen when he was boxing in Boston, and they claimed he had something to do with it, but they never could prove it. But eventually, he got gunned down, Fairmont Avenue, 45. Boom.
Wow.
He didn't die right away either. He went in the hospital. Then there was another hurricane. His name was.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
It was bad news. I had Butchie's gun, my partner Butchie. I took it and I sat at the other side of the bar with my hand under the bar while this hurricane was there and talking to me about the neighborhood. Oh, he says, you're a friend of Bobby, the Paulas, right? Frankie the Paula. I said, yeah. Oh, he said, they're good, man. He's fighting at the Garden this week. I said, yeah. So that night, he was with 2 other guys. They went at the kid across the street, I forget his name. Took him in a car around the corner on Prospect and Palisade Avenue. And they found him dead in the car the next day with a shotgun alongside him. He said, "Oh, he killed himself." And I said, "I know he didn't kill himself. They shot him and put the gun in there and got away with it."
Wow. Wow.
He owed them money and he refused to pay them. You couldn't refuse to pay them. You tell them you work out a deal or something. You don't just spit in their face and say, "I'm not paying you." No, huh? Okay. Boom.
It was a different time when justice was served a lot differently then. You don't make bets you can't cover.
No.
Who was your biggest influence in life? The person you looked up to and said, "I want to be like that person."
I don't know. When I was young, I guess it was my father's friend Gumbali, because he was always happy, always pleasing everybody, and he'd always find a way to make other people happy. He bought me a watch for my confirmation. He was my sponsor, and the tag was in it. It was $86. That was more money than God made. I said, "Oh my God!" He never took a price tag off. Yeah, your mother thought he was nuts. He looked like a bank robber. The bank robber's name was Willie Sutton.
Wow.
And they took his picture and hung it in a bar, and everybody thought it was Willie Sutton, but it was actually Al. He was Albanian. Very loudmouth. But he told me a lot of stories, influenced me a lot. But there was other people that helped me.
If you can give advice to your granddaughters now that this is going to go to, really, because they're the ones that spread our family name along, what advice would you give them to keep pushing forward and be successful in life?
Well, take it easy. Don't jump. Think before you do anything. I don't know. Keep a motto of some type. Like do your best or something like that. Be your own. Like you believe in something and do it. And you'll make it. Just have confidence in yourself.
Awesome. This has been great, Dad. Thank you.
Okay.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the MisFitNation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all of our past episodes and get some of that great MisFitNation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are MisFitNation. MisFitNation. MisFitNation.